A desperate SOS from a distant alien world reaches humanity, and they respond with a ship built for destruction. The galaxy calls for help, but the answer is not diplomacy. It's unstoppable power. Aliens are dying, and only the Deathworlders' warship can turn the tide. When survival is on the line, humanity shows the galaxy why they are feared and respected. A civilization on the brink faces humanity's ultimate force, and hope hangs by a thread. Don't miss more epic stories from across the stars. Hit subscribe and join us on this adventure. The signal arrived without warning, a faint pulse cutting through the endless darkness of space. It was irregular, almost broken, yet unmistakably intelligent. Scientists at the Earth Command Center stared at the readings in disbelief, their instruments buzzing with the strange pattern. No one had ever received anything like it from that sector before, a place so remote and dangerous that even unmanned probes avoided it. The message repeated, a call for help. Encoded in a language unknown to humanity, experts worked frantically, piecing together the sequence, analyzing the strange symbols and frequency modulations. Every moment the signal persisted, it grew stronger, more urgent, as if the sender was struggling to survive. Some suggested it might be a trap, a lure sent by hostile forces, but the desperation in the pattern felt real, raw, and undeniable. Inside the command center, tension crackled like static in the air. The brightest minds argued over the possible source, debating whether to respond immediately or wait for more information. Some warned that venturing into that sector could mean death, that the signal might belong to a species far more dangerous than humanity had ever faced. Others insisted that ignoring the SOS would betray every principle humanity claimed to uphold. A moral failure they could not accept. The room fell silent when the lead scientist activated the signal translator. The words finally became clear, though fragmented. Help, dying, unstoppable enemy, please save us. A chill ran through everyone present, a mix of awe and fear. The message carried urgency, panic, and a quiet hope all at once. It was a civilization at its breaking point, reaching out across light years in a desperate plea for survival. The team quickly compiled all available data, mapping the coordinates, estimating the distance and environmental conditions of the planet. They discovered that the SOS originated from a world that should have been uninhabitable, a planet battered by conflict and harsh climates. Satellites showed ruins and smoke rising from sprawling alien cities, strange structures twisted and broken, evidence of some great catastrophe. The images were both horrifying and fascinating, a glimpse into a society on the edge of extinction. As discussions continued, opinions clashed violently. Some argued for diplomacy, suggesting a careful approach with scientists and negotiators. Others, hardened by Earth's military doctrine, demanded sending a vessel equipped for defense, prepared to face threats with overwhelming force. No one could ignore the underlying truth. The planet was in immediate danger, and time was slipping away. Outside the command center, the world seemed unaware of the crisis unfolding in distant space. Yet humanity's decision would echo across light years, determining the fate of an entire species. The signal continued to pulse, relentless and unwavering, as if urging the humans to act. Each repetition added weight to the moral dilemma, blending fear, responsibility, and the irresistible call to adventure. Finally, after hours of debate, the Council agreed on a course of action. They would respond, but not with a simple rescue mission. The Deathworlders, humanity's elite warriors, would travel to the SOS planet in a ship built for destruction. It was a choice that startled even seasoned officers, combining hope and terror in equal measure. The message demanded help, but the unknown dangers required the power to fight, to survive, and to protect. As the team prepared the vessel and briefed the crew, the SOS continued to broadcast. It became more than a signal. It was a voice across the void, pleading, warning, and calling humanity to a destiny beyond their world. No one could ignore it, and no one would. The countdown to departure began, and with it, the first chapter of an unprecedented mission, one that would test courage, intelligence, and the unyielding will to confront the unknown. The SOS faded slightly as the planet's rotation carried it out of direct line, but its urgency remained, etched in every mind on the command deck. Humanity was about to reach for the stars in a way it never had before. A world's survival rested in their hands, and the faint, desperate signal would guide them through the darkness. It was a call no one could refuse, a mystery that demanded action, and the beginning of a story that would change everything for both species. Humans moved quickly, deciding that the SOS required more than a simple response. In the shipyards, massive engines roared as the Deathworlder vessel took shape, a machine designed not for exploration, but for raw, unstoppable power. Every hull plate, every weapon system, every shield generator was optimized for survival in the deadliest conditions. The ship was enormous, a fortress in space, built to confront threats that no ordinary vessel could withstand. Engineers and soldiers worked side by side, each knowing the mission's stakes were higher than anything they had faced. Blueprints covered walls and tables, showing layers of weapon arrays, reinforced armor, and advanced propulsion systems. Some systems were experimental, created in secrecy for extreme scenarios. The vessel's interior was cold and mechanical, but alive with the hum of energy coursing through every circuit, signaling readiness, efficiency, and lethal capability. The crew was chosen carefully, seasoned warriors, tactical geniuses, and technical experts who could operate under extreme pressure. Training simulations had prepared them for countless scenarios, but none could match the unknown dangers awaiting them. As they boarded the ship, each member felt the weight of responsibility, knowing they were humanity's first and last line of intervention. There was no room for error, no margin for hesitation. Only precise execution and unwavering courage. Communication channels buzzed constantly, coordinating teams, systems, and supply lines. The vessel's command center was a hive of activity. Holographic displays showing real-time data on weapon status, shields, and the distant coordinates of the SOS planet. The captain walked among the crew, assessing readiness, offering quiet words of motivation, and reinforcing the idea that survival required both discipline and adaptability. The atmosphere was tense, electric, a mixture of excitement and fear, for the unknown loomed just beyond the reach of sensors and scanners. While the engineers fine-tuned weapons and defensive systems, scientists worked to integrate alien data into the ship's navigation. They studied the planet's atmosphere, gravity, and terrain to ensure the vessel could enter orbit safely and deploy personnel if needed. Simulations projected countless outcomes, accounting for environmental hazards, enemy presence, and the unpredictable nature of an alien world in crisis. The team ran calculations over and over, their fingers flying across consoles, eyes scanning for any anomaly that could threaten the mission. Despite all preparation, unease lingered. The SOS was from a species whose technology and tactics were unknown. Would the Deathworlder ship be enough to protect themselves and the aliens they came to save? Every sensor sweep and signal analysis revealed only fragments of the danger, but the urgency of the SOS left no choice. Humanity could not wait, and the Deathworlders could not hesitate, for delay might mean extinction for an entire civilization. Finally, the vessel's final systems came online, and the ship shuddered as power flowed through engines and weapons alike. Every crew member took their station, checking and rechecking equipment. Ensuring that every protocol was followed, the captain issued the last orders before launch, voice steady, commanding, and clear. In that moment, the ship was no longer a collection of metal and circuits, but a living extension of human will and determination, ready to face the unknown. As countdowns ticked toward departure, the crew felt a mixture of anticipation and fear. Outside the ship, the void of space stretched endlessly, a dark canvas waiting for humanity's bold intervention. The SOS pulsed faintly, still broadcasting its plea across light years, a reminder of the lives depending on their mission. The Deathworlder vessel was humanity's answer, a paradox of hope and destruction, carrying both the promise of salvation and the power to annihilate any threat. When the final countdown reached 0, engines roared to life, shaking the ship as it lifted from the shipyard. The crew braced against acceleration, eyes fixed on the vastness of space ahead. All doubts, fears, and questions were pushed aside. There was only action, only the mission, and the imperative to reach the SOS before it was too late. With a final surge, the vessel leapt into hyperspace, leaving behind familiar stars and venturing into the dark, uncharted regions where danger awaited. Every member of the crew knew that the coming journey would test their strength, courage, and humanity itself. The Deathworlder ship, built for destruction, was also a vessel of hope, carrying the responsibility to save a civilization on the brink. As stars blurred past the viewing ports, the crew prepared for whatever lay ahead, ready to face the unknown with fire, strategy, and unwavering resolve. The SOS had been answered, and humanity was on its way, armed not just with weapons, but with the determination to protect life against all odds. Tension filled the Deathworlder ship as it glided through the endless expanse of space. The crew, though trained and experienced, could not ignore the weight of the mission pressing on their shoulders. Every corner of the vessel seemed alive with anticipation, a quiet hum of machinery echoing the nervous energy of the humans aboard. Some crew members spoke in hushed tones, sharing speculation about the alien world, its enemies, and the challenges that awaited them. Others remained silent, eyes fixed on screens and instruments, calculating, planning, and waiting for any sign of danger. The captain moved through the command deck, observing every crew member with a steady, unblinking gaze. He understood the mixture of fear and excitement coursing through them, knew that hesitation could be fatal in the coming encounters. Even among the veterans, doubts surfaced. Would their ship be enough? Were they truly prepared for a species in distress and for the enemies that had driven the SOS into space? Whispers of uncertainty circulated, but discipline kept them focused, training overriding panic. Simulation exercises replayed in the minds of the crew, scenarios they had faced before, adapted for alien variables. Yet nothing could completely prepare them for the unknown, the unpredictable intelligence of an enemy species, or the fragile trust of those they had come to save. The SOS had painted a picture of desperation, but the truth could be worse, much worse, and every sensor sweep reminded them of the uncertainty surrounding the mission. Conversations turned to strategy, the balance between speed and caution, aggression and diplomacy. Some argued that showing force would intimidate potential threats, while others warned that the aliens might see the ship's firepower as a danger rather than help. Debates flared, voices tense but controlled, as minds sharpened by training clashed over the best course of action. The captain intervened only when needed, his calm authority guiding the crew toward unity, ensuring that fear never became hesitation. In the living quarters, smaller groups of crew shared personal stories, attempting to distract themselves from the tension. Some laughed nervously, recounting past missions and near-death experiences. Others stared at walls or windows into the void, imagining the planet and the civilization waiting for their arrival. Sleep was scarce. The knowledge that failure could mean annihilation for an entire species weighed heavily, pressing on every thought, every breath. Communication channels remained active, linking every section of the ship. Engineers monitored power distribution to shields and weapons, ensuring optimal performance. Navigators checked hyperspace coordinates repeatedly, confirming that deviations could be deadly. Soldiers practiced drills in silent corridors, weapons in hand, moving with precision and confidence, even as uncertainty gnawed at the edges of their minds. The crew's emotions were a storm beneath the calm surface of professionalism. Fear, excitement, curiosity, and responsibility blended into a complex pulse that seemed to echo in the ship's engines. Every crew member knew that the SOS demanded immediate action, yet the unknown required caution. Their minds worked endlessly, preparing for choices that could mean life or death for both themselves and the aliens relying on them. The captain held briefings in the command center, reinforcing plans while leaving room for adaptation. Every order was precise, every contingency considered. He reminded the crew that their training was their strongest weapon, and that unity, courage, and adaptability would determine the mission's success. At the same time, he acknowledged the weight of what they carried, the survival of a civilization, the impact of humanity's response on the galaxy. As hours passed in hyperspace, tension evolved into focused readiness, a calm beneath the storm of thoughts and emotions. The crew moved with purpose, their minds sharpened by the uncertainty and responsibility of the mission. Each member silently prepared for what awaited them on the distant SOS planet, rehearsing strategies, visualizing outcomes, and anticipating threats. They understood that courage was not the absence of fear, but the will to act despite it, and that their collective strength would be tested as never before. Even the quiet moments were charged with intensity. The hum of the ship's systems, the soft beep of instruments, and the distant shimmer of stars reminded them of the void surrounding them. The unknown loomed closer with every passing moment, and the crew braced themselves, ready to face whatever awaited. Their thoughts returned repeatedly to the SOS, to the lives at stake, and to the immense responsibility they bore. In the silence of space, tension became purpose, and fear became fuel for the mission ahead. Every heartbeat, every breath, every decision carried the weight of survival, and humanity's determination burned quietly but fiercely within the Deathworlder ship. The Deathworlder ship dropped out of hyperspace, emerging above a planet scarred by fire and ruin. From orbit, the view was terrifying and awe-inspiring at the same time. Cities lay in ruins, twisted towers and shattered spires reaching into the smoke-filled sky. Rivers of molten rock and debris cut through landscapes once vibrant with life, evidence of battles and natural disasters alike. The planet's atmosphere shimmered with heat and chemical clouds. Sensors detected unstable weather patterns and pockets of deadly radiation. Every reading warned of danger. Yet, the SOS had led them here, and the crew could not turn back. The gravity readings were high, pushing the limits of the ship's engines and landing protocols, but careful calculation promised a safe descent. From the command deck, crew members scanned for movement, life signs, and potential threats. Sensors picked up faint signals of intelligent activity, small pockets of survivors hiding amidst the wreckage. The aliens' technology appeared damaged, their energy emissions weak compared to normal functioning systems. It was clear that the SOS was not an exaggeration. The planet had been pushed to the edge of collapse, and its inhabitants lived in fear and desperation. The crew discussed strategies for making contact while maintaining safety. They weighed the risks of descending too close, knowing that hostile forces might still roam the surface, yet remaining in orbit would not help the survivors, and hesitation could cost lives. The captain decided that a measured approach was best, balancing caution with the urgency of the SOS. As the ship moved lower, the crew could see more details. Buildings once gleaming with advanced architecture were now charred and broken. Smoke rose from smoldering ruins, and scattered vehicles lay twisted and abandoned. Even from space, signs of the enemy's power were visible. Fortifications, traps, and wreckage marked the paths they had traveled. The planet told a story of relentless conflict, of a civilization fighting for survival against overwhelming odds. Below, small clusters of alien life moved cautiously, scanning the sky for threats. Some fled as the human ship came into view, unsure if these massive beings were saviors or predators. Sensors picked up weak energy signatures. Communications, defense systems, and signs of life trying to survive in the chaos. It became clear that these survivors had endured unimaginable hardship, hiding from a force they could not hope to fight alone. The Deathworlder crew prepared landing shuttles and drones, planning to survey the planet while keeping the ship at a safe orbit. Every instrument was calibrated for maximum efficiency. Every system monitored for anomalies. They observed pockets of devastation, planning how to navigate without causing further harm while assessing the needs of the SOS senders. Maps of the surface were generated in real time, highlighting safe zones, potential threats, and locations of survivors. The aliens watched cautiously from below, curiosity and fear battling in their eyes. Some signaled to one another, trying to understand whether the humans were friend or foe. The enormity of the Deathworlder ship, bristling with weapons and technology beyond comprehension, made the aliens wary. Yet the faint hope carried in the SOS kept them from fleeing entirely. A fragile trust that humans might be the answer to their desperate call. As the ship hovered, crew members began preparing to deploy reconnaissance units. Small drones were launched, scanning the ground for life signs, environmental hazards, and enemy remnants. The feeds from these drones showed ruined streets, collapsed buildings, and terrified aliens. Every image reinforced the urgency of the mission, and the crew understood that time was short. The captain addressed the crew, emphasizing precision and care. They were here to help, but they had to respect the fragile state of the world and its inhabitants. Any mistake could provoke panic or endanger lives, yet decisive action was required to fulfill the SOS. The planet was a battlefield, frozen in a moment of devastation, and the humans had to navigate it with courage, skill, and empathy. The ship's shadow fell over the landscape as it prepared to descend further. The heat of fires, The smell of burning structures and the distant cries of the survivors were all carried faintly through sensors. The crew knew that what awaited them on the ground would test everything they had trained for. The SOS had led them to this world, a planet on the edge of extinction. And now, humanity's answer would begin in the shadow of destruction, where hope and danger existed side by side. The aliens emerged cautiously from the ruins, their forms strange and unfamiliar. Some moved slowly on multiple limbs. Others hovered above the ground, scanning the sky with glowing eyes. They had lived through endless nights of fear, hiding from enemies they could not fight. And now, this massive ship, bristling with weapons and energy, appeared above them, a presence both terrifying and awe-inspiring. From the observation decks, humans watched silently, analyzing every movement, every signal, every gesture. The aliens hesitated, unsure whether these newcomers were saviors or predators. Some stepped forward, while others retreated, forming small groups and communicating through sounds and lights. The air was thick with tension, an invisible line drawn between hope and fear. Attempts at communication began, translators struggling to interpret the alien language. Simple phrases were repeated, their meanings partial but clear. We, survive? Help, friend? The crew watched as aliens responded with cautious gestures, signals of curiosity mixed with distrust. Every interaction carried the weight of survival, every misstep potentially disastrous. The SOS had painted a picture of desperation, but the reality was more fragile and complex. The aliens had suffered great losses, their cities destroyed, their defenses crippled, and their trust broken. Yet they had hope that these humans could turn the tide. A fragile faith carried in every cautious movement. Some aliens approached the landing zone, their movements deliberate, while others observed from shadows. Fear of betrayal battled with the need for assistance, a conflict written in every posture, every glance. The humans carefully deployed drones to survey the area, keeping a safe distance while assessing the survivors. Data streamed back, showing clusters of aliens injured, starving, and exhausted. The crew noted the locations of shelters, damaged infrastructure, and signs of enemy presence still lingering on the planet. They realized that the SOS had been more than a call. It was a cry for survival from a civilization pushed to its limit. The aliens began to share information cautiously, showing the humans their destroyed technology and weak defenses. Through images, gestures, and partial translations, they conveyed the story of an unstoppable enemy, one that had swept through their cities and left chaos in its wake. The humans listened, absorbing the details, planning the next moves, calculating strategies for intervention. The crew understood that empathy and force would need to work together, that the aliens' survival depended on careful coordination and decisive action. Some aliens showed gratitude despite fear, signaling for food, water, and medical aid. Others watched warily, testing the humans, unsure whether they could trust these strange beings from another world. It became clear that patience was as important as power, that saving the planet required careful observation as well as readiness for conflict. The humans adjusted protocols, ensuring that every approach, every signal, would not provoke panic. Small gifts of supplies and healing tools were sent down, tentative steps to gain trust while maintaining security. The enemy threat remained unseen but palpable, and the crew knew they had little time to act. The aliens' defenses were fragile, and the humans had to balance caution with urgency. Every sensor sweep, every communication attempt, every movement of the drones was carefully coordinated. The alien survivors began to understand that these massive beings were here to help, not destroy, though fear lingered in every eye. As the hours passed, a cautious bond began to form. Fragile, but real. The aliens began to share more details of their enemies' movements, their technology, and weaknesses. The humans documented everything, preparing for a strategy that could protect and defend. Even those who had hidden in shadows started moving closer, curiosity and hope overcoming fear. The SOS had drawn humanity into a world teetering on the edge, and now the first contact had begun, fraught with tension, understanding, and the possibility of salvation. The humans watched, calculated, and learned, their presence a mixture of reassurance and overwhelming power. The aliens realized that these newcomers were not just warriors. They were the key to survival, the answer to their desperate plea. Every gesture, every signal, every cautious interaction built the fragile bridge between fear and trust. The stage was set for humanity's next move, a balance of strength, strategy, and compassion. And in the quiet moments between communication, both species understood the gravity of the mission and the hope that still flickered amid the ruins. The Deathworlder crew moved with precision, their plan unfolding with deadly efficiency. Every weapon, every system, every crew member had a role to play in the assault that would save the aliens. From orbit, they identified the enemy strongholds, dark structures bristling with defenses and energy shields. The aliens watched in awe and fear as humans prepared to strike, their immense firepower a force beyond anything the planet had seen. The first wave of attack drones launched, moving silently across the skies. They scanned, disabled, and disrupted enemy surveillance, clearing paths for the main assault. Missile arrays and energy cannons were targeted carefully, precision strikes designed to dismantle defenses without unnecessary collateral damage. Every shot was calculated, every explosion timed to break the enemy's formations while minimizing risk to the survivors below. On the ground, the alien survivors began to move cautiously, guided by signals from the humans above. They were instructed to stay in safe zones while the Deathworlders cleared the enemy's positions. The humans coordinated remotely with the aliens, providing direction, warnings, and updates. It was a delicate dance of trust and technology, each side learning to work together under life or death pressure. The enemy retaliated, firing back with relentless fury, but the Deathworlder ship was prepared. Shields flared, energy weapons deflected attacks, and countermeasures neutralized incoming threats. The crew worked in unison, monitoring every system, predicting enemy movements, and adjusting tactics instantly. The battle became a display of human ingenuity, strategy, and raw destructive power, a demonstration of what a civilization could achieve when survival demanded it. From orbit, the destruction was both terrifying and efficient. Buildings that had been fortified for decades crumbled under precise bombardment. Energy weapons tore through enemy bunkers, cutting through defenses that had seemed impenetrable. Yet every action was measured. The humans knew they could not destroy the planet or harm the aliens they were trying to save. They struck with intent, not chaos, focusing on neutralizing the threat while protecting life wherever possible. As the enemy's forces faltered, humans deployed small strike teams in shuttles, moving onto the surface. These teams engaged pockets of resistance, disabling weapons, capturing vital data, and securing strategic points. The aliens followed cautiously, their hope growing as they saw the humans fighting not for conquest, but for protection. It was a sight that inspired awe. The combination of intelligence, coordination, and sheer force overwhelming the enemy in ways the aliens had never imagined. Throughout the battle, the humans remained adaptable, responding to unexpected tactics from the enemy. They anticipated ambushes, countered traps, and adjusted strategies in real time. The crew's coordination was flawless, a blend of training, instinct, and trust in one another. Even when enemy reinforcements appeared, the Deathworlders managed to contain them, using terrain and technology to their advantage. The aliens watched closely, learning and understanding the humans' methods. Fear began to mix with admiration as they realized that their SOS had been answered not just with force, but with strategy and intelligence. Some survivors joined the humans in clearing sectors, offering guidance on enemy positions and weaknesses. A fragile cooperation formed, born of necessity but growing stronger with each success. After hours of intense conflict, the enemy's fortresses began to fall one by one. Resistance weakened, structures collapsed, and the alien planet slowly shifted from chaos toward the possibility of recovery. The humans had demonstrated overwhelming power, but they had done so with precision, leaving life intact wherever possible. The battle was fierce, but every calculated strike brought the planet closer to safety, and every victory inspired the survivors to trust in their rescuers. As the final strongholds were neutralized, silence fell across the battlefield, broken only by distant fires and the hum of the Deathworlder ship above. The crew monitored the planet, ensuring no hidden threats remained, and helping the aliens secure their homes and vital resources. It was a victory born of careful planning, technological might, and relentless courage. The humans had saved a civilization not through diplomacy alone, but through a combination of strategy, trust, and unstoppable force. And as the survivors slowly emerged from hiding, they began to see hope for the first time in decades, understanding that the SOS had been answered by beings capable of both destruction and protection. The battle ended, but the cost of victory was clear. The planet was scarred, its landscapes marked by fire, collapsed structures, and smoldering ruins. Even as the Deathworlder crew observed from above, they understood that saving the civilization had come at a heavy price. Many aliens had survived, but countless lives had been lost, and homes and infrastructure lay in rubble. The crew deployed emergency teams to provide immediate aid. Medical units treated the wounded, distributed food and water, and worked to restore basic services. Engineers helped repair critical systems, stabilizing energy grids, water supplies, and communication networks. Despite the devastation, the survivors moved carefully among the ruins, slowly reclaiming their cities with guidance from the humans. The aliens expressed gratitude in ways the humans could barely comprehend. Some offered ceremonial gestures, symbols of trust and respect from a culture unfamiliar to humanity. Others spoke in broken language, repeating words like "thank you" over and over, their voices trembling with relief and disbelief. For them, the arrival of the Deathworlders had been a miracle, a powerful force that had turned the tide when all hope seemed lost. Even as celebrations began in small pockets, the human crew reflected on the consequences of their actions. They had unleashed destruction, yes, but it had been necessary to protect the innocent and restore order. Some crew members felt a quiet sorrow for the lives lost, while others focused on the lives saved and the mission accomplished. The captain reminded everyone that the purpose of their strength was to ensure survival, and that sometimes survival demanded harsh choices. The alien leaders slowly took control of the rebuilding effort. Guided by human advice and strategies, they learned from the Deathworlders' precision, discipline, and tactical knowledge, gaining insights into organization and defense that would help them in the future. The survivors worked tirelessly, clearing debris, reconstructing shelters, and caring for those who had suffered the most. It was a painstaking process, but hope began to take root amidst the ruins, fragile yet unshakable. From the observation decks, humans watched the recovery, feeling a mix of pride and humility. They had saved a civilization, yet the scars of war would remain for years, a constant reminder of the cost of conflict. The Deathworlder's presence had changed the planet forever, leaving both physical and psychological marks. Even as the crew prepared to depart, they knew their actions had altered the course of history for this alien world. And though the mission was technically complete, the echoes of destruction and survival would linger long after they left. The aliens began to rebuild their society, inspired by the humans' efficiency and courage. They shared knowledge, repaired technology, and re-established communication networks, slowly creating a foundation for a safer, stronger civilization. The survivors learned the value of trust and cooperation, realizing that even in the darkest moments, help could come from unexpected places. Children who had hidden in fear now played cautiously among the ruins, their laughter a fragile symbol of renewal. The Deathworlders quietly assisted, providing resources, advice, and protection. Every action was measured, designed to empower the aliens without fostering dependency. The humans understood that the mission's true success would be measured not just by survival, but by the aliens' ability to stand on their own once they departed. They remained vigilant, scanning for residual threats and ensuring that the enemy could not return to undo the fragile peace. As the sun rose over the devastated planet, its light revealing twisted towers and blackened landscapes, the crew took a moment to reflect on what they had accomplished, the lives saved, and the lessons learned. Victory had come at a cost, but it had been achieved through courage, precision, and unyielding determination. The aliens now had a chance to rebuild, to reclaim their world, and to remember that even in the face of overwhelming destruction, survival was possible. The Deathworlders had left an indelible mark, a combination of power, strategy, and hope that would resonate for generations. In the quiet moments before departure, the crew stood together, watching the recovering planet. They knew the mission had tested their limits, exposed them to moral dilemmas, and demanded the very best of their skills. And as the alien survivors looked up at the departing ship, gratitude and awe filled their hearts. The planet was safe for now, its future uncertain but brighter than before. The humans had intervened not just with weapons, but with wisdom and courage, leaving behind the promise of survival and the knowledge that strength could protect as well as destroy. The Deathworlder ship lifted from the planet's orbit, engines humming with controlled power. Below, the alien civilization slowly began to breathe again, recovering from devastation and fear. Survivors moved carefully through streets still marked by fire and battle, yet their steps were lighter, filled with cautious hope. Children played near reconstructed shelters, elders began to organize rebuilding efforts, and families reunited after long days of hiding and struggle. From above, humans watched silently, aware of the fragile balance between victory and lingering danger. The planet was far from perfect, scarred and vulnerable, but it had survived. Every building, every path, every surviving life told a story of resilience and courage. The SOS had been answered, and the intervention had proven the strength and determination of humanity. The aliens gathered to express their gratitude in ways their culture allowed. Ceremonies were simple yet profound, gestures of trust and respect extending toward the ship still visible in the sky. Some sent messages through recovered technology, while others simply observed in silent appreciation. Every interaction reminded the humans that their actions had meaning beyond destruction. They had saved lives, inspired courage, and given hope. The Deathworlder crew reflected quietly on the mission's outcome. They had come armed for destruction. Yet their presence had become a symbol of protection and strategy. The immense firepower that had cleared the enemy was balanced by careful planning and precision, ensuring that lives were spared wherever possible. They had witnessed suffering, courage, and hope in equal measure, understanding that victory came not just from defeating enemies, but from enabling life to continue. Even as the ship moved farther from the planet, the humans monitored from a distance, ensuring that no hidden threats remained. Communication channels remained open for final coordination, advice, and emergency response. The crew observed the aliens implementing strategies they had taught, repairing structures, reclaiming territory, and establishing defenses. It was a sign that the intervention had lasting effects, giving the civilization tools to protect itself and rebuild stronger than before. The planet below glimmered with faint lights of activity, signs that life and civilization were returning. The humans noted every detail, every progress marker, aware that the world would continue to recover long after they left. The SOS had been more than a call for help. It had been a test, a challenge to humanity's strength, judgment, and morality. And in answering it, humans had proven that they could wield immense power responsibly, combining force with care. The journey home through space was quiet. A reflective silence dominating the ship. Crew members considered what they had seen, the lessons learned, and the bonds formed between two very different species. Some spoke softly, recounting moments of bravery, quick thinking, or cooperation that had turned potential disaster into triumph. Others remained in contemplation, understanding the heavy cost of intervention and the responsibility that came with power. Messages from the aliens continued to arrive. Tentative yet filled with gratitude, they sent images of repaired infrastructure, newly planted crops, and communities cautiously returning to normal life. Each message reinforced the purpose of the mission, reminding the crew that their journey had been meaningful, that the SOS had not been ignored. Hope had survived, even on a planet nearly destroyed, and humanity had been the instrument of that hope. As the ship moved through the stars, the crew looked toward the future. They knew that news of the mission would spread across human space, a story of strength, precision, and determination. Other civilizations would take note, understanding that humanity could respond decisively when called upon. Yet the humans themselves remained humble, recognizing that the true measure of success was not power, but the lives saved and the trust earned. The SOS had ended, the crisis resolved, but the implications would echo throughout the galaxy. Humanity had proven that it could reach out across light years, confront danger, and protect those in need. The aliens' world was safe for now, beginning a slow journey of recovery, learning, and growth. And as the Deathworlder ship continued its journey, it carried with it the knowledge that humanity had left a legacy, a mark of strength, hope, and careful judgment. The galaxy had witnessed what could be accomplished when courage, intelligence, and determination came together. And somewhere among the stars, the story of the SOS and the humans who answered it would be remembered for generations to come.